So then I had the wish in my heart to go to Medjugorje for my 40th birthday.
You turned 40.
And we went to Medjugorje.
Like, so I said, okay, we can go there as a side dish. I don't want it to be the main event. I want it to be, if I go back to work, I don't want to go tell them I went to Medjugorje. Come on, how does that sound? I want to tell them some cool stuff. Like, I went to Venice, so we put Venice in the game.
Yeah.
And we went to, where did we go? Like Croatia. So I was like not ready to actually show that I'm Catholic. I'm not ready to show that I pray. I'm really ashamed of God, ashamed of my faith back then. Mm-hmm. So I tried to hide it. I was a hypocrite in a way. So I said, let's go.
Go to Medjugorje.
But we're going to do some fun stuff on the way. And in the end, it turned out that Medjugorje was the highlight. And we didn't want to leave. Because it was just so peaceful. Yeah. And you had the grace to go to confession. We all did. And there you had a special message from the confessor there. Yeah. But no, you should say something first. Because well, I just remember going there because Mother Mary had already strengthened my faith. I started going to confession more often, to daily mass, and I was praying the full 5 decades on my own. Hiding, you know, just realizing that you're not ready yet, so I just did it. And I had discovered also a video from Gabby After Hours on YouTube, and he was saying how important it is to pray the whole rosary, and it brought back that memory from when I was younger, when I had started praying the joyful, sorrowful, and glorious. And he was saying we should be praying all 4, the luminous as well. And I had this thirst and this goal in me to do so, and I was trying, but it was just not working. Where I was realizing, oh, this is going to take some kind of miracle for this to happen. But I just did, you know, what I could, which was just the one. And I was going to Medjugorje asking Mother Mary to give you the gift of faith and the gift of faith for our children. I wasn't going for myself. My intention was, I want to bring you to Jesus through Mother Mary. That was the goal. And turned out that the priest that you went to confession to, do you want to talk about that? Well, yeah, confession was a big pain for me because the priest that we had in Switzerland was not really doing it for me back then. And it's an outdoor confession in Medjugorje. You have benches out there, and in the afternoon you can pick a priest, basically, right? So there's all the priests there. You can see the different languages, Italian, English, German. Yeah. And I felt even though I'm German, I felt most comfortable going to an English-speaking priest because I speak about the faith a lot in English with you, so it's easier to talk about those things right now because I don't know that stuff. Even the wordings in the prayers, I don't really know in German. Actually, that's a proof that I haven't been really taught things as a kid. Right. Because I don't know most German prayers that people know. Right. And I'm better in praying English. There was just no catechesis. And so I decided to go for, first of all, I wanted to go for an English-speaking priest. I wanted to go for an old priest so that he does not remember what I tell him. And I had to wait for this one guy there. He looked like 80, 90. And once he got free, I stood up and ran to him. And I took the chair, and I think I spent like how long? An hour. It was at least an hour. And he was from? Ireland. What was his name? Paddy. Father Paddy. Father Paddy. What were the main messages that he told you there? Well, it was a long conversation. I don't think it was a confession. It was just a journey to go back into it. I didn't do a live confession. I just introduced myself. I told him what I studied, that I'm an electrical engineer, and then he told me his life. I was like, well, that's a weird confession, you know. It's more like talking to each other, like, hey buddy, how you doing? I'm from Switzerland, he's from Ireland. So he tells me his life story about how he was in Texas, and then he has told me like, I know many electrical engineers that had a change afterwards. They dropped their job and they either became priests or... Why though? And then he said, why? He said, adoration, he built up a perpetual adoration chapel. Those words, I don't know what that meant back there. You know, he told me perpetual adoration. I was like,
yes,
what is that?
Perpetual adoration.
What is adoration? What is perpetual? So I went back to my wife and I said, so there were two messages. One was like, do adoration once a week. And the second one was the message from Father Patrick Peyton. That's a rosary priest from Ireland. He had that famous sentence, a family that prays together stays together.
And he meant the rosary, specifically.
Specifically the rosary.
Yeah.
I didn't know that back then, but he just said those two things he gave. He packed into my suitcase and said, goodbye.
Yeah.
Right? And I took that back. And also one more event that happened in Medjugorje was like I was asking for the gift of crying. Because I for some reasons, I stopped crying when I was like 15 or so. Mm. And there was one story from a lady there, a doctor that did abortions all her life. And when she climbed up the apparition hill, she described the stones that you see there as it literally transformed in her vision to the bones of the babies that she killed. Mm. And that touched me so badly that a doctor that didn't have faith has seen such a transformation in her life that she's actually now bringing doctors there to Medjugorje to come back onto the right path, right?
To stop,
To stop.
Like hundreds of doctors she's helped to stop committing abortion in Medjugorje.
And Medjugorje is so beautiful because of the people that go there. There's so many testimonies of transformations, finding the way back. It's not really about the messages from Mary that struck me the most. It was about the personal testimonies from people that go there. And there's such a peace there. It's just incredible.
It's very Eucharistic and rosary centered.
Yeah.
And it just brings people back to the basics of faith, the two pillars, the Holy Mass and the Holy Rosary.
And confession.
And confession.
And then the Holy Mass and the adoration as well.
The adoration, exactly.
The first time I saw consciously the adoration was in Medjugorje. Imagine that. I'm a Catholic. I haven't seen that all my life. In my town, that was actually eliminated. They didn't do this anymore.
Yeah.
The adoration, for those who don't know that, it's the Eucharist is exposed in a very nice monstrance, and you just pray there in silence. You sometimes pray the Rosary in front of it, and that was always happening at Medjugorje at night time, and there was such a peace in the air, thick peace.
Yeah, Jesus is then placed on the altar, Jesus in the Eucharist, and everybody can take time to look upon him and adore him. In prayer, and it's so powerful. Yeah. And then we came back from Medjugorje and still struggling, still trying to do the 1 decade right together. I kept trying to do the full rosary, the whole 4, and it just wasn't happening. But I kept going to daily mass, and then 2019. Which was about 6 months after we had been in Medjugorje, all of a sudden you stepped up and said,